Welcome to this lecture of a new theory dealing with a huge question of how species are created and how species are changing. I call it the intelligence of nature creates species. Today there are two views. I mean the evolutionary view based on Darwin's origin of species, and then the second is the creationism from the Bible, and they are competing and they always complain about the other opinion. So to overcome this tough debate, I start with the wisdom of Albert Einstein, as always, that nothing can be said concerning the manner in which the concepts to be made and connected. Success is the result is alone the determining factor. And I will later on show you a minor experiment which I did. It could be an indication that this theory, and I'm now talking about, could be, we need to look into it. The short version is that species do not adapt to nature. It is nature that makes any shapes and design of species. So there we're moving from the concept adapt to the concept impact, that is shaping. So 5 new concepts for understanding reality are the following: the mass, the flow, relation, transformer, shape. And together they have an alternative theory of how species are changing and how species are created. Basically, there are 3 dominant stipulated postulates. And nothing exists in isolation, everything exists in relations. That is the first one. Movement is a property of reality. And every concept has to represent reality directly and concretely. They are very tough postulates, but we need to follow them. The concept relation relates to reality by showing that there are relations between all parts in reality, where A, B, C are any system or subsystem of any field of relation in universe. The relation R is a flow of packages between these system or subsystem, and you have this basic model. So now, based on the first postulate, nothing exists in isolation, everything exists in relations, in combination with 1 and 2 above. The principle is X equal ARB. Then when we go a step further, we can see that we can translate this formula, the principle, to a little more concrete. And then the formula will be S as a system equal A, any system, subsystem, P1 to N, packages of flow, going to B, another system or subsystem. So Sx is a complex of relation, and P1 to N can be told like this: R is the sum of P1, P2, P3. Another challenge is to identify all the P in all relations, as the formula tells. And the system is the sum of, yes, you can see it and you can study it yourself. And the third is that N for nature, SP as for species. Then we can see that N imply and affect and shape species. Number 4 is infinitive number of species equal RRB in infinity. So what manifests as species, SP, is the flow of packages from nature, N. And we take a step further. Here SP is species. And by the language of the principle of relation, we can now summarize the change, not the evolution of SP. SP infinitive and RB infinitive. I think that's the right pronunciation, sorry, but you understand the sign, the symbol, of course. So when A is nature and with by R, that is P1 to N, flow of packages, will change B to another species, SP2, or change its attributes such as the size and shape of Finch's pecker. And this is what Darwin said, that the finches, they adapt. But this theory says that it is the flow of packages that reshape the pecker. Again, the same formula, sp2 is then equal to that the first size and shape of the Finch's pecker is then affected and will be B1. Now we must study how R affects the genes and how mutations occur, not as random, but as a logical effect of R, that is nature. So let's call sDNA the system of DNA. And ARB, where A is N, R is the content, and B is sDNA. The formula is then N1 to N R sDNA. So it is nature by this logic, this mechanism, that rechange and change the Finch's pecker. Of course, then we have to understand DNA from this point of view. And the principle of relation claims that DNA is an infrastructure, which means the mechanism which directs and leads packages of molecules to be called transformer. And genetic information, is the physical structure of the chemical components A, T, G, and C. And this will solve the problem of storing information. Since there exists no information, it is infrastructure of the chemical components which automatically organizes incoming components. When the content of flow changes, which is the fact from the environment, from nature, where the finches are living, it changes DNA continuously and carefully, step by step. The transformer consists of three parts: pathway, its flow, and its infrastructure. You can see it here. And then by the transformer, masses are transformed to new shapes. Could be stars, cells, species, because this is a fundamental principle valid for all fields of reality. So masses are coming in from nature, in this case, are transformed and then have an impact and reshape the species. There is an interaction between the pathway, its infrastructure, and the packages. They are woven and interconnected. I do understand this is a quite new theory for you, so you need to look at it sometimes and you need to read it very slowly, slowly, slowly. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to understand. This is, you can laugh a little bit, a very simple illustration where n has a symbol of a tree, and you can see how nature, step by step, sp2, sp3, sp4, are affected by these flows. And then any species will be changed step by step continuously. If we take to seed, for example, sunflower seeds, we call them to set, and each set will be put into different system under different circumstances. We can wrap 2 seeds in 2 pieces in tin foil and 1 in plastic foil film. We put it in a dark and cold box, the first one, and the other we put outside normal Swedish summer condition. After 4 weeks, we look into them, and we can see difference in both size and color. Of course, this is not good enough, but if we then make it in many laboratories and look at it carefully, then we will see that then you say they adapt to new environment. But I will say that it is the nature, the environment, who shape them. It's not the opposite. Then, and of course you can study this yourself, the paradigm of evolution. This is contemporary P, big E, is the contemporary science of biology. They are based on these statements. The principle is random. The mechanism of evolution are random. The random variation is generated by mutation. Mutation occurs when DNA fails to copy accurately and when external influence such as specific chemicals or radiation create mutations. This random I do not like, and I know what Einstein told us about this. This is not what God was meant to. Then the consequences for the concept of randomness is that if randomness is the principle, where's the free will? If man is a consequence of randomness, then all species are caused by randomness. Then our solar system is caused by randomness, as well as all galaxies. The entire universe is based on randomness. And then the conclusion must be that randomness as a principle is based on randomness. And this looks like stupidity. So, next one, the consequence of PE based on PR. Since the concept of evolution is based on human values, we always think that humans are the best. But that's not the case. I am sure about that. Secondly, mutation occurs when N1 to N RS DNA. That's another explanation. Randomness is not valid as an explanation. Now we must study how R affects the genes and how new mutations occur, not as random, but as the logical effect of R, that is nature. And then if you are very sick or ill or you are close to dying, as the intelligence of nature creates species, there is also an inverse relation. That is, when any species dies, nature will take care of them. This is, of course, comforting. And you can remember Genesis 3:19. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Or sometimes, from earth you came, and to earth you will return. However, we need to understand the mechanisms which make it possible, both the creation and the inverse relation. I mean that the principle of relation is one attempt.